Why run? What's the point? This time around, training for my 15th marathon, I've been reaching for greatness. I've dreamed of greatness in efforts past, but never took them seriously enough. Race day would arrive, and I already knew I hadn't really put the effort that was required into the training to achieve something great. Years ago, the last time I took running sort of seriously, the excuses I made for myself were different than they have been in my modern era. Let's just say that I chose lifestyle over the marathon result. That was 12 years ago, pre-children, just barely married. I was 32, still so young, barely out of my 20s. I knew perfectly well that it would take an enormous amount of time and effort to do something awesome, and I just wasn't up for that level of commitment. Even what I thought of as a pretty basic goal, getting a sub 3-hour marathon, was not compelling enough for me to make room for it in my life. Now I'm 45, and it's a different perspective. My oldest is 10 and spends way less time with me. During each haircut, I'm ever more surprised to see the increasing concentration of gray hair on the floor. I've had the chance to be laid off from a job I loved and handed a document to sign with the verbal introduction that because I'm over 40 years old, I'm given a waiver of age discriminations to sign. And at this age, more and more people are coming down with and dying from all kinds of chronic problems, even cancer. Speaking of getting laid off from a job you love, since the election last November and all of this talk of tariffs has been growing and the threat of mass layoffs is again staring us in the face, it's an obvious time for reflection. Why do we do these things we do with our lives? I've been asking myself this question lately anyway. I love that job. High-end residential remodeling project manager, building cool things, working with super smart builders, designers, and clients, solving interesting problems, using math, science, and art. Straight up, making real estate porn. I started that career path 8 years ago when I realized that I could do my hobby and get paid for it. But now, the fickleness of the democracy we live in has tanked that vision. And let's be honest, even without that fickle democracy, there were always going to be elements beyond my control, in that or in any other industry. You always have bosses who are going to be in charge. You always have other people who have passionate involvement and intimate stakes in the outcomes of the work you're contributing to. You can make a mistake and cost someone else money, reputation, their livelihood. Those things can happen as a result of a clash of personalities too, or, heck, one of you can get out of the wrong side of the bed that morning and ruin everything. What I'm trying to say is that while you may think you're on the right path, doing something you love, it's not always in your control how you walk down that path. And for me, that's where running enters the conversation. For me, the most important reason to get out of bed in the morning lies within your goals. Actually, it lies in having goals at all. But more than that, it lies in being able to succeed in accomplishing those goals. What I mean by that is you can set yourself huge goals, but there has to be some way of actually accomplishing these goals for them to be meaningful. I might have chosen the goal of becoming the greatest of all time, the GOAT, at something, but man, that's lofty. I mean, that means being better at that thing than anyone in history has ever been at that thing. Something like 110 billion people have ever been alive. Nice, and would sure be sweet to do, but I'm not going to pretend I'm going to get there in any area of my life. But with running, I can choose incremental goals, plot a clear and nearly certain path to accomplish it, and then go out there and actually do that. It's super straightforward and entirely dependent on me and me only. And that's important about running for me. It's not dependent on others. It doesn't matter if someone else has a bad day. I can keep working on this goal and I will get to it. I can get sick and miss a day or two or a week or two, and while I might be delayed, I'll still be able to get back to the process and I will get there. And here's what's most important about all of it. These are concrete, easy wins that I have inserted into my life that help me feel good about where I'm at in my life. Provide a boost to keep the forward momentum by making obvious links from one goal to the next. And the process of getting to them makes me stronger and healthier. If you're interested in keeping up with this journey with me, hit the subscribe and notify buttons, and I'll put a card at the end for the next video in this series where I talk more about my goals and how I go about setting and hitting them. But what about that greatness I mentioned at the top?